Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Sunil Verma and with me is Renu Kataria with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates Pragati Maidan Integrated Transit Corridor project. Says steadfast central government completed the project despite several hurdles including COVID pandemic. Prime Minister to be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka from tomorrow to inaugurate and lay foundation stones for development projects in the state. Polio immunization 2022 underway in full swing in 11 states and union territories across the country. Domestic coal production in country goes up by 28% as of 16th of this month. Bjp to hold first coordination committee meeting in Delhi today for upcoming presidential election. 7th round of Joint Consultative Commission between India and Bangladesh to be held in New Delhi today. Historic torch relay for 44th Chess Olympiad to be launched by Prime Minister at Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi this evening. French voters going to polls to decide who will control their National Assembly. President Macron appeals to voters to give him solid majority. Tokyo Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra clinches javelin gold in 2022 Kuortane Games in Finland. And in cricket, 5th and final decisive T20 international between India and South Africa to be played at Bengaluru this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today dedicated to the nation the main tunnel and 5 underpasses of Pragati Maidan Integrated Transit Corridor project in New Delhi. Speaking at the event, Mr. Modi said that this project had to undergo several obstacles, including COVID.
इतने कम समय में इस इंटीग्रेटेड ट्रांजिट कॉरिडोर को तैयार करना जरा भी आसान नहीं था। जिन सड़कों के इर्द गिर्द ये कॉरिडोर बना है वो दिल्ली की सबसे व्यस्ततम सड़कों में से एक है और ये जो टनल बनी है उसके ऊपर तो 7 रेलवे लाइंस गुजर रही है। इन सारी मुश्किलों के बीच कोरोना धमका, अनेक मुसीबतें पैदा होती हैं देश को आगे ले जाने में। इस प्रोजेक्ट को भी वैसी कठिनाइयों से गुजरना पड़ा, लेकिन ये नया भारत है, समस्याओं का समाधान भी करता है, नए संकल्प भी लेता है और उन संकल्पों को सिद्ध करने के लिए अहरनिश प्रयास करता है।
The Prime Minister also said there is no dearth of people in our country who knock on judiciary's door to disrupt the process of such projects, but the government made it through. He said not much pragati was made at Pragati Maidan, which was formed decades ago to showcase Indian tradition.
ये इंटीग्रेटेड ट्रांजिट कॉरिडोर प्रगति मैदान प्रदर्शनी स्थल को 21वीं सदी की आवश्यकताओं के अनुसार ट्रांसफॉर्म करने का अभियान का हिस्सा है। दशकों पहले भारत की प्रगति को, भारतीयों के सामर्थ्य, भारत के प्रोडक्ट्स, हमारी संस्कृति को शोकेस करने के लिए प्रगति मैदान निर्माण हुआ था। लेकिन उसके बाद भारत बहुत बदल गया। देश की राजधानी में विश्व स्तरीय कार्यक्रमों के लिए स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट सुविधाएं हो, एग्जीबिशन हॉल हो और इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए आज देश के कई हिस्सों में भारत सरकार निरंतर काम कर रही है।
He said earlier there was development plan only on paper and governments made announcements in fashion to make it to newspaper headlines and then forget them. But in the last 8 years, Mr. Modi said the centre has taken several steps to solve the problems of Delhi NCR.
बीते 8 सालों में दिल्ली एनसीआर में मेट्रो सेवा का दायरा 193 किलोमीटर से करीब 400 किलोमीटर तक पहुंच चुका है, डबल से भी ज्यादा, और इससे भी प्रदूषण कम करने में बहुत मदद मिली है। ईस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न पेरिफेरियल एक्सप्रेसवे में भी दिल्ली को बहुत राहत मिली है। हजारों ट्रक सीधी सीधी बाहर से निकल जाती है। दिल्ली की इंटरस्टेट कनेक्टिविटी पर अभूतपूर्व स्केल, अभूतपूर्व स्पीड आज पहचान बन चुका है काम का। दिल्ली मेरठ एक्सप्रेसवे ने दिल्ली मेरठ के बीच की दूरी को सिर्फ 1 घंटे भर में पहुंचा दिया है।
Saying the central government is working relentlessly to build state-of-the-art facilities, the Prime Minister underlined the work undertaken by the centre in modernizing the infrastructure.
हमारे दिल्ली में ही द्वारका में बन रहा इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशन एंड एक्सपो सेंटर और प्रगति मैदान में रीडेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट, ये अपने आप में एक उदाहरण बनने वाले हैं। आज कनेक्टिविटी की इस आधुनिक सुविधा को लोकार्पण हुआ है। केंद्र सरकार द्वारा कराए जा रहे आधुनिक निर्माण देश की राजधानी की तस्वीर बदल रहे हैं और उसे आधुनिक बना रहे हैं। और ये तस्वीर बदलने के लिए सिर्फ नहीं है, ये तस्वीर इसलिए बदली जा रही है वो तकदीर बदलने का भी एक माध्यम हो सकती है।
The project, developed at a cost of more than 920 crore rupees, aims to provide hassle-free and smooth access to the Exhibition and Convention Centre being developed at Pragati Maidan. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that the Pragati Maidan tunnel was the first of its kind underground corridor in the country and is an engineering marvel.
एक 1.6 किलोमीटर का टनल, साथ ही साथ 6 अंडरपासेस और इस पूरे इलाके को डीकंजेस्ट करने का कार्यक्रम, जिसमें लगभग नॉर्मल डे में 1,14,000 गाड़ियां, जिसके वजह से समय भी ज्यादा लगता था, सबका समय बचेगा और टेरी के एस्टिमेट से लगभग 16,500 टन कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड हर वर्ष बचेगा, जो 5 लाख पेड़ के बराबर होता है। ये जो होलिस्टिक अप्रोच है, ये डिफाइन करती है प्रधानमंत्री जी की सोच को, उनकी दूरदर्शिता को।
Our correspondent reports the much-awaited tunnel and 6 underpasses that are part of the project are expected to ease traffic for 1 lakh commuters. The corridor is funded entirely by the central government. The 1.36-kilometer-long tunnel will have 6 lanes with a 3-lane carriageway on both sides. It connects Ring Road with India Gate via Purana Kila Road, passing through Pragati Maidan. It will also provide direct connectivity to the huge basement parking of Pragati Maidan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating and launching various development programs during his 2-day visit to Bengaluru and Mysuru from tomorrow. We have a report.
After arriving in Bengaluru at noon tomorrow, the Prime Minister will visit the prestigious Indian Institute of Science. He will inaugurate the Brain Cell Research Centre established at a cost of 450 crore rupees donated by Chris Gopalakrishnan, the co-founder of Infosys. Mr. Modi will also lay the foundation stone for an 850-bed Bhakti Parthasarathi Research Hospital at IISc. He will later address a public gathering at Komagata near Kengeri, where he will inaugurate various development projects. In the evening, Prime Minister will unveil the statue of Baba Sahib Ambedkar at the B.R. Ambedkar School of Economics campus and officially dedicate the higher education institution to the nation. Following this, he will proceed to Mysuru to address a public gathering at Maharaja College grounds. On June 21st, Mr. Modi will take part in the International Day of Yoga to be held in front of the iconic Mysuru Palace. With Sudhindra's report, Ravi Kumar, AIR News, Delhi.
Polio immunization 2022 begins today in 11 states and union territories. The Health Ministry said first sub-national immunization day of the year will start its campaign for administering polio vaccine drops to around 3 crore 9 lakh children below 5 years of age. The campaign will start in Bihar, Chandigarh, Delhi, Gujarat, Haryana, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand and West Bengal. During this campaign, targeted children will be given polio drops through booths, house-to-house, mobile and transit teams. The government has also introduced the injectable inactivated poliovirus vaccine to provide additional protection to children in its routine immunization program. Domestic coal production in the country has gone up by 28% as of 16th of this month. After a record-breaking coal production of 777 million ton MT in 2021-22, the domestic coal production continues to witness an increasing trend in the current financial year as well. The Coal Ministry highlighted that the total domestic coal production in the year 2022-23 is over 137 million tons in the last month, which is over 28% more as compared to the production of 104.83 metric ton in the same period of last year. It said adequate coal supply to the power sector ensured on a sustained basis, and coal stock at different mines has touched 52 million tons, which is sufficient for power sector requirement for 24 days. The Coal Ministry said that the domestic coal production target for the current financial year is 911 million tons.
Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, A.K. Abdul Momen, arrived in India on a 3-day official visit yesterday. He will attend the 7th round of Joint Consultative Commission (JCC) between India and Bangladesh this evening. The JCC will be co-chaired by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Mr. Momen. This will be the first physical JCC meeting after the COVID-19 pandemic. The previous edition was held virtually in 2020. The JCC will review the entire gamut of bilateral relations, including cooperation in the wake of COVID-19, border management and security, trade and investment, connectivity, energy, water resources, development partnership, and regional and multilateral issues. Tomorrow, Mr. Momen will call on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. In Patna, 185 passengers on board had a miraculous escape when an engine of SpiceJet flight to Delhi caught fire while it was airbound. Eyewitnesses said when the plane took off from Patna airport, the left wing of the plane caught fire. The pilot managed to land the flight safely at Patna airport. Relief and rescue operation is continuing. It is suspected that a bird hit might have been the reason for the fire. Meanwhile, Patna SSP Manavjeet Singh said all passengers are safe.
स्पाइसजेट का फ्लाइट था, दिल्ली की तरफ जा रहा था. जैसे ही उड़ा है स्पाइसजेट तो लोगों ने देखा है और एयरपोर्ट अथॉरिटीज नोट किया कि एक विंग से उसकी आग लगी हुई थी, आग छूट रहा था. तो एयरपोर्ट इमरजेंसी लैंडिंग में सेफली लैंड कर गया है. कोई सीरियस इंजरीज वगैरह नहीं है.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today called on President Ramnath Kovind at Rashtrapati Bhavan. President Ramnath Kovind's 5-year tenure comes to an end on the 24th of next month. At the beginning of this month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi accompanied President Ramnath Kovind to his ancestral village, Paronk in Kanpur Dehat of Uttar Pradesh.
The Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP) will chair its first coordination committee meeting in the national capital today to hold detailed discussions for the upcoming presidential election that are due on July 18 this year. BJP chief Bjp Leaders will chair the meeting in which preparations for the upcoming presidential election will be discussed in detail. On behalf of the BJP, Leaders and Defence Minister and Deputy Leader of Lok Sabha Rajnath Singh have been given the responsibility to hold discussions with all political parties to make a consensus on the candidate for president. In order to coordinate with its state units and allies, the BJP has formed a coordination committee of 14 members. Biennial election for 10 seats in the Maharashtra Legislative Council (MLC) slated for tomorrow promises to be a humdinger of the electoral contest. 11 candidates are in the fray for the 10 MLC seats, with the 3 ruling MVA parties, Shiv Sena, the NCP and the Congress, each fielding 2 candidates, while the opposition Bharatiya Janata Party is fielding 5 candidates. The victory quota is around 26 votes, as the strength of the 288-member legislature has now reduced to 285 following the demise of Sena MLA Ramesh Latke and the arrest of 2 NCP leaders Nawab Malik and Anil Deshmukh.
Over 196 crore 14 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said over 13,24,000 doses were administered yesterday. The recovery rate is currently at 98.62%. 8,518 people recovered in the last 24 hours. Over 12,800 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. 15 COVID-related deaths were also reported in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry today said that more than 193 crore 53 lakh vaccine doses have been provided to states and UTs so far through the centre's free of cost channel and through direct state procurement category. It said more than 12 crore 77 lakh balance and unutilized COVID vaccine doses are still available with the states and UTs to be administered.
You're listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates Pragati Maidan Integrated Transit Corridor project, says steadfast central government completed the project despite several hurdles including COVID pandemic. Prime Minister to be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka from tomorrow to inaugurate and lay foundation stones for development projects in the state. Polio immunization 2022 underway in full swing in 11 states and union territories across the country. Domestic coal production in country goes up by 28% as of 16th of this month. BJP to hold first coordination committee meeting in Delhi today for upcoming presidential election. 7th round of Joint Consultative Commission between India and Bangladesh to be held in New Delhi today. Historic torch relay for 44th Chess Olympiad to be launched by Prime Minister at Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi this evening. French voters going to polls to decide who will control their National Assembly. President Macron appeals voters to give him solid majority. Tokyo Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra clinches javelin gold in 2022 Kortani Games in Finland. And in cricket, 5th and final decisive to T20 international between India and South Africa to be played at Bengaluru this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। इस बार का विषय है इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी और सवाल भेजने की अंतिम तारीख है 22 जून। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people in the country and abroad in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio on the 26th of this month. It will be the 90th episode of the monthly radio program. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said he is glad to have received several inputs for this month's Mann Ki Baat. He urged people to keep their ideas coming either on MyGov or on the Namo app. People can send their suggestions on the themes or issues they want the Prime Minister to speak about in the upcoming Mann Ki Baat episode. They can also dial the toll-free number 1-800-11-7800 and record their message for the Prime Minister in either Hindi or English. In Bihar, the East Central Railway, ECR, has decided to run trains under its jurisdiction only from 8 p.m. today to 4 p.m. till tomorrow in view of the ongoing protest and violence. 60 train coaches and 10 locomotives have been torched so far during protests. The railways has cancelled 362 trains today to avert untoward incidents. Police arrested 718 persons and lodged 138 FIRs against troublemakers. The FIRs have been lodged on the basis of video footage and mobile tower locations in the last 3 days of the protests against Agnipath scheme announced by the centre to recruit youth for 4 years in the armed forces of the country. Meanwhile, the Union Home Ministry has ordered to provide Y-category central security cover for 10 Bjp leaders in Bihar, including 2 Deputy Chief Ministers, Tarkishore Prasad and Renu Devi, besides State Bjp President Sanjay Jaiswal, in view of protesters' attack on leaders.
In France, second round of voting for National Assembly is underway. President Macron has appealed to voters to give him a solid majority in the superior interest of the nation. Macron's party needs an outright majority of 289 seats out of 577 National Assembly seats. Elections for the 577 seats in the Lower House National Assembly are a 2-round process. In a first-round election held on 12th June, a left-green alliance led by far-left Jean-Luc Mélenchon finished neck-and-neck with Macron's centre-right Ensemble alliance. Control of parliament is necessary for Macron to continue ruling France by decree. Flood situation in the north and northeastern parts of Bangladesh worsened following heavy rains. Official reports said that Sylhet city is worst affected due to floods. The rail, road and air connectivity to Sylhet has been snapped due to floods. Power supply and internet connectivity has also been affected, causing severe difficulties to people. The operations of the hospital in Sylhet and other essential services have been badly affected. The local administration, with the help of Army, Navy and the Coast Guard, has evacuated over 90,000 people to safe locations from Sylhet and Sunamganj districts.
And now, let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember writer and freedom fighter Pandit Madhavrao Sapre, who was born on June the 19th, 1871 in Patharia village in Damoh district of Madhya Pradesh. Sapre was inspired by Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak towards the freedom struggle.
Sukh ka data sabka saathi, shubh ka ye sandesh hai. माँ की गोद पिता का आश्रय मेरा मध्य प्रदेश है.
A brilliant student, Sapre developed a passion for Hindi language and literature. The British government invited him for appointment to high posts in government jobs, but he turned down the offer and instead chose to become a teacher at a meager salary to support the freedom struggle and promotion of Hindi. He started publication of monthly paper Chhattisgarh Mitra in 1900.
With the inspiration of Madhavrao Sapre, Anand Samaj Reading Room was established at Kankalipara, Raipur, which emerged as a centre of national consciousness and political discourse. In 1905, Sapre established Hindi Granth Prakashan Mandali in Nagpur and started the publication of a monthly magazine called Hindi Granthmala in the year 1906. In one of its issues, a long essay titled Swadeshi Movement and Boycott was published. The magazine was closed in the year 1908 under the British Government Press Act.
विंध्याचल का भाल नर्मदा का जल जिसके पास है, यहाँ ज्ञान विज्ञान कला का लिखा गया इतिहास है.
In the Congress session of 1905 at Varanasi, Madhavrao Sapre met Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He was greatly influenced by Tilak's thoughts and wanted to spread his ideology in Hindi. With the permission of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Sapre started the publication of the Hindi version of Tilak's Marathi newsletter, Kesari, in Nagpur in 1907, under the name Hindi Kesari Weekly. Sapre translated the Gita Rahasya, written in Marathi by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, into Hindi. He was arrested for writing seditious articles like Black Water in Hindi Kesari.
Sapre considered untouchability as a social stigma and was a strong advocate of girls' education and women's freedom. In the year 1912, he established the Janaki Devi Kanya Pathshala in Raipur. In 1921, on the call of Gandhiji, he got the National School and Hindu Orphanage established in Raipur for the education of the students.
Sapre continued to generate political awakening through his discourses in many cities of Chhattisgarh. He was elected president of the All India Hindi Sahitya Sammelan in 1924, held in Dehradun. The great writer breathed his last on 23rd of April 1926 in Raipur. AIR News salutes the great nationalist.
We also remember Gandhian nationalist Nana Bhai Khant, who was martyred on the 19th of June 1947. A resident of Dungarpur, Rajasthan, Khant was a popular Bhil leader and used to run a Gandhian institution, Dungar Seva Sangh, to look after the Bhil school at Rastapal. The tyrant ruler of Dungarpur, Maharaval, was opposed to the Dungarpur Seva Sangh and ordered for the closure of the school. On the 19th of June 1947, the superintendent of police and his team reached the village and ordered Nana Bhai and Master Sanga Bhai to close down the school.
On their refusal to obey the order, the police started beating Sanga Bhai, dragged him out of the school building and tied him to the police truck by a rope. In his bid to save the life of Senga Bhai, Nana Bhai chased the moving truck. The policeman thrashed Nana Bhai repeatedly and so severely that he died on the spot. AIR News salutes the great nationalist. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
The next question of Amrit Mahotsav quiz will be shared with the listeners tomorrow. Celebrate 75 years of India's independence by participating in Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the importance of yoga becomes even more in the present era when non-communicable and lifestyle-related ailments are on the rise, particularly among the youth. Sharing a video on Twitter, Mr. Modi said, "Practice yoga for good health and wellness." Indian Embassy in Beijing organized International Day of Yoga celebrations at India House yesterday. India's ambassador to China, Pradeep Kumar Rawat, highlighted the necessity of yoga in the pandemic era in dealing with mental anxiety. To celebrate the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, more than 75 yoga schools across China were also connected online with the help of various consulates and Indian yoga gurus. Indian yoga guru N.K. Singh from Manipur conducted the common yoga protocol to the gathering.
I feel very honored to be the one who lead this International Day of Yoga, and I'm very happy that this much people, around 700 people, come here to join. At the same time, it connects with 75 centers all over China. So it is a big event and very successfully organized by the Indian Embassy. Through this, we will spread huge positive about this yoga to this community.
Today is National Reading Day. The day is celebrated in honor of P.N. Panikkar, considered the father of Kerala's library and literacy movement. It also marks the beginning of the month-long digital reading celebrations. Started as a Reading Day celebration on June 1996 by the Government of Kerala in association with the P.N. Panikkar Foundation, National Reading Day became a mass movement to promote literacy and the culture of reading in the state.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the historic torch relay for the 44th Chess Olympiad at Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi today. The Prime Minister will also address a gathering on the occasion. This year, for the first time, International Chess Federation FIDE has instituted the Chess Olympiad torch, a part of the Olympic tradition, but was never done in the Chess Olympiad.
Tokyo Olympic javelin gold medalist Neeraj Chopra has clinched gold in the 2022 Kortani Games in Finland yesterday. Neeraj defeated reigning world champion Anderson Peters of Grenada for the second time in 4 days. Neeraj threw 86.69 meters to clinch the top prize in tricky and wet conditions. In cricket, the fifth and final T20 international between India and South Africa will be played at M. Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru this evening. The match will start at 7 p.m. This will be the decider encounter as the series is currently levelled at 2-2, with South Africa winning the first two matches and India the third and the fourth.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates Pragati Maidan Integrated Transit Corridor project, says steadfast central government completed the project despite several hurdles, including COVID pandemic. Prime Minister to be on a 2-day visit to Karnataka from tomorrow to inaugurate and lay foundation stones for development projects in the state. Polio immunization 2022 underway in full swing in 11 states and union territories across the country. Domestic coal production in country goes up by 28% as of 16th of this month. BJP to hold first coordination committee meeting in Delhi today for upcoming presidential election. 7th round of joint consultative commission between India and Bangladesh to be held in New Delhi today. Historic torch relay for 44th Chess Olympiad to be launched by Prime Minister at Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi this evening. French voters going to polls to decide who will control their National Assembly. President Macron appeals to voters to give him solid majority. Tokyo Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra clinches javelin gold in 2022 Kortani Games in Finland. And in cricket, fifth and final decisive T20 international between India and South Africa to be played at Bengaluru this evening. With that, we end the midday news.